All right, today we're talking about terms. And we've already talked about the terms can be two things. They can be a letter, a variable, or a constant, a number. Now in this one, we've got two terms. We've got x and plus 3. What's sneaky is that x has that plus sign in front of it that's kind of invisible, so let's put it in. So right now we have the expression x plus 3. There is no equal sign, so it's just an expression, not an equation. But what happens when we add to this expression? Let's say another variable comes in, and it's x again. Well, I think you know where I'm going with this. We can combine like terms. We can put the x with the x, and that makes 2x. Now, the 2 is a different type of number than the 3. The 3 is a constant. The 2 is a coefficient. It just tells us how many of the variable we had. We just combined a couple of x's, so now we have 2 x's. So I think we're pretty good on that, but what happens when 2x plus 3 equals something? Well, I can still use combining like terms to try to solve. In this problem, I have to know what I'm trying to do. Step 1 is I know I have to try to solve for x. And if I know I have to solve for x, then I'm going to start looking for all the x terms and get them on the same side of the equation. And I'm going to get all the other terms on the other side of the equation. So there's a couple ways I can do this. One is the classical way where I look and say, okay, I want the 2x on the left side by itself. So I want everything else to the right side, so I got to get that 3 out of there. If it's plus 3, I can go subtract 3 to get it out of there like this. And that leaves me with, I can bring down the 2x, the plus 3 and the minus 3 cancel each other out, and plus 7 minus 3 is 4, which leaves me with 2x equals 4. And now that I've got x by itself, I can actually solve. The last thing I want to do is get rid of that coefficient, the 2, so I can divide by 2 on both sides. And when I do that, I get x equals positive 2. So the last step is get rid of that coefficient by dividing it out. All right, what if we start with the last problem and make it a little more complicated? So this might seem like a more difficult problem, but let's first label our terms to make sure we're talking about the right things. Positive 2x is an x term, plus 3 is a constant term, plus 7 or positive 7 is a constant term, and plus 3x is a x term. So first step is that I have to know what I'm solving for. Step 1, I have to solve for x. Step 2 then, I have to get all the x terms on one side and all the other terms on another side. So there's a really easy way to do this. Check this out. So I can pretend there's this barrier right at the equal sign. And if I want to switch a term from one side to the other and it crosses the barrier, I can do that. I could just have to switch its sign when I do this. So I'm going to take the 3x and I want to put that 3x over with the 2x because I want all the x's on one side. And when I pick it up and move it across the equal sign, notice when it hits that barrier, it turns into a negative 3x and I can put it on this side. But now I need the plus 3 over on the other side. So I'm going to pick it up and start to move it. And when it hits the barrier, it turns into a negative 3, and I can put it over on that side. Now we can easily combine like terms. So now just combining the like terms on both sides, negative 3x plus 2x is negative x, and positive 7 minus 3 is just positive 4. So if negative x equals positive 4, then x equals negative 4. Or you can think of it as multiplying both sides by negative 1 to flip the signs. All right, what if we do a really hard one, supposedly? Well, if we follow the same steps, it'll be pretty easy. So let's go ahead and put these in categories of, we have x terms, we have y terms, and we have constant terms. So let's go ahead and color code them or make them look different like this. So now the x's are in red and the y's are in white and the constants are in green and yellow. All right, so let's go ahead and solve for y this time, just because. So we're going to solve for y. So that means I want all the y terms on one side and we got to get everything else on the other side. So I can do this a bunch of different ways, but let's say I want all the y's together on the left side. So I'll grab this y that's sticking out on the right side and start to move it across, and when it hits the border of the equal sign, notice it turns to a positive. Next, I have to get the negative 2x to the other side, so as I grab it and move it, as it moves past the equal sign, it turns from a negative to a positive as well. And the last thing I need is to get that negative 6 from the left side over to the right side so the y's are all by themselves. So I'm going to grab the negative 6, and when it tries to pass the equal sign, notice that the minus sign turns into a plus. And I can put it on the end by the 3, and now we've separated the y terms to the left and everything else to the right. Now we can just combine the like terms. Y plus 2y is 3y. Negative x plus 2x is just x. And plus 3 plus 6 is plus 9. Always the very last step is to get rid of the coefficient. So we're trying to solve for y, so we want to get rid of that 3. So we can just divide by everything by 3 and we're done. Now in this problem, even though we solved it, it turns out y equals x divided by 3 plus 3. So we don't even know what y equals yet, but if you could tell me what x equals, we could divide x by 3 and then add 3 to that, and that's what y would equal. So we solved the equation for y, even though we still don't know exactly what it is yet. So as long as you follow the steps, you can solve even if you don't really solve. All right, let's do some easy ones.